What's up, everybody? This is your boy Chris, and this is Carrie from the YouTube channel called Kosmic Kognition. Go check him out. And today we want to talk about Hillary Clinton's pick for Vice President, Tim Kaine of Virginia. He's a U.S. Senator, and a lot of people are upset that she would pick a centrist and not a progressive, that someone that would be in line with like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. So what are your thoughts on that, homie?
I think that the most important thing when you look at somebody's political spectrum position is, aside from that, how do they reach out to members of the community? How do they actually deal with different demographics of people in the country? Can they help me pull a vote with a different demographic? Has he done anything to show that he could?
Well, early on in his adult career, he was a huge advocate. He was a lawyer for fair housing. He'd done a lot of pro bono work. And I would say on most social issues, he is on point. But one of the biggest issues during this election cycle has been the regulation of our financial industry and institutions. And he is pretty much in step with Hillary Clinton, who most people see as being a corporatist. So that's not good.
I figured that she's going to try to strengthen some portions of her campaign, some portions of her already pre-existing obligations. The fact that somebody won't release all their paperwork or anything of that matter says to me suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if we're talking about the fact that he was a part of fair housing, to me that's a plus in a way.
Yeah. But once again, I think that if she wanted to sway Bernie supporters, now she's going to have a much harder time doing that, because she didn't pick a person like Elizabeth Warren to be her running mate. She picked a centrist, and on economic issues, a person who basically is up in arms with the banking industry, and that's not going to win over votes. But with the people who cannot stand Donald Trump, and they usually vote Republicans, this can be a plus for her in that category.
Maybe that's why she went with a centrist.
Yeah.
So I guess when I think about Bernie supporters, there's obviously the progressive side, and there's in the progressive side there's multiple facets, but you have like some people who are on a libertarian aspect almost.
Mm-hmm.
But do you expect them to shift towards Gary Johnson anyways?
Well, you see there's a lot of polling data out, and in some states, Jill Stein and Gary Johnson have very high, in terms of like third-party candidates, approval ratings or whatever, amongst voters. So, if they can get high enough, maybe they can enter into the debates.
Okay. What is it, 15%?
I think it's like 15%. Yeah.
Okay.
But once again, I think that a lot of people who are saying that, or a lot of people who are Bernie Sanders supporters who say they're going to vote for Jill Stein and not Hillary Clinton, the problem I have with the Jill Stein campaign is that the Green Party only comes around during the presidential election. They don't try to win over local school boards, state legislators, local governments, state governments, and then you get yourself up to the federal level. They don't do that. They just come around every 4 years when it's a presidential election, and I don't think that's a approach that will lead to results.
It doesn't seem effective, especially when you guys have a similar base. If you try to deflect from that initial base that has a higher chance of getting the presidency, and with a candidate that is more in line with your views, you can totally destroy your chances at bringing America towards what you would like to actualize. You give them the chance to side with the person or the political arguments and ideologies that you oppose.
Because there's a lot of things I don't like about Hillary Clinton, but the issues that I disliked about Hillary Clinton are amplified times like 100 when it comes to the Republican candidates. Yeah, she is a corporatist, but the Republicans are the crony
capitalism.
Yeah, crony capitalism party. And so this election, unfortunately, I will be voting for the lesser of two evils. I just don't want to see someone like Donald Trump
Mm-hmm.
get into the Oval Office.
I had a quick question for you on Benghazi.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain to me your opinions on Hillary's I don't know,
Role in the
role or
Benghazi
her
attack?
responsibility rather?
Okay, so I think it's somewhat her fault for not defending herself, but in terms of Benghazi, she called for increased embassy security on multiple occasions while Secretary of State, and the Republicans in the Congress blocked increased funding for embassy security. And they're making it seem as if because of the State Department's, I guess, ineffective management, that she's somehow responsible for Benghazi, even though they've done like 8 investigations, which have cost tens of millions of dollars to the American taxpayers, and they have all come back and said that she's not guilty for anything. It's then these are Republican-held investigations, and they have come.
I guess the question, out of all the things that she should be held accountable for over Benghazi, would be her emails more than anything.
Yeah, and it's like, once again, when she called for increased funding, they didn't do anything. They just said, no, we're not going to increase funding, and then this happens. And under the Bush presidency, there was 9 or 10 embassy attacks where 50 or 60 people were killed. So this kind of condemnation of Hillary Clinton is just phony. It's hypocritical, to say the least.
Interesting.
So that's really my stance on, or at the moment, when it comes to the 2016 presidential election. You have anything to add to that?
Like Chris said, when parties come along towards the end and in the fervor, especially for the national election, or not just running for certain positions to actually win the bipartisan roles of Democrat and Republican, it actually puts a hinder on each party. So you have to be careful with what you're doing. You have to know, when I run, do I have a legitimate chance, and might I infringe on the opportunity of somebody I would rather agree with than their enemy? And my last point to that is, we need to get rid of a bipartisan system, in my opinion, from the get-go.
You need to get the money out of politics.
The money out of politics.
Money out of politics has got to go.
That's huge. And that's why I like Lawrence Lessig in the first place. I mean, obviously he didn't have the chance that other people did. I didn't think Bernie had a chance to start, and he did have a chance, just a little, too late. Too many brainwashed people, in my opinion.
Too many brainwashed people, man. I know people who said, oh yeah, I voted for Hillary because she's a woman. And it's like, why? Well, she's a woman. And it's like, any kind of policy substance, no, she's a woman. It's just it's like that kind of ignorance from the left. It's like, to me, it's as bad as people saying, oh, I'm not going to vote for Obama because he's black or whatever. No, it's just you vote for someone who you feel has the best policy stances and can help the country the most. Whether it be Democrat or Republican, it shouldn't matter. The person who is the best person for the job should be given that job, or whatever, basically.
I concur.
All right. So that's all we gotta say. This is Cosmic Kognition. I'll drop his channel in the description below. And y'all have a nice evening now. Peace.